Hello, everybody, and welcome to our new book, which is called Integers 3. You'll see it right here in the corner, and it's blue. Make sure you have that book. It's in your math binder. So first, we're going to do lesson 1, and the video is covering lesson 1 only, and you have 3 videos per book, okay? So the first page is the word bank. I will give you these notes, so you can write notes on top. My pen isn't working too well. The second page is actually homework. No, we're skipping this page. More of Mr. Mortimer's Magic, skip. And it helps if you cross it out. The next page, you're going to do only number 1 through 6 for homework. The rest we're skipping. So I will write homework, and you need to do these. But we are skipping the ones with the counters and groups. So cross that out. And then we have page 3. Page 3 is notes. Page 4 is notes. My pen doesn't work very well. It's the internet. Page 5 is homework. And that's it for that lesson 1. Okay, so we start with our vocabulary word, my word bank, distributive property. Distributive property, at this point, I want to remind everybody to finish the vocabulary quiz at the end of the book, because it's so way back that sometimes we forget, but it is part of your assignment, okay? So some of the words are here and the other words are in the back of the book. So distributive property means you're going to multiply everything inside the parentheses by the number outside. And I'll show you an example. So for example, I have something like this, 5 times 3 minus 4. So notice there's no symbol between the 5 and the parentheses. In this case, we have an invisible multiplication dot that's not there. So you have to assume that it's there and know it. Yeah, it's 5 times whatever's in the parentheses. And I like to tell my students to draw little bows to the first and to the second, and however many there are. So it's 5 times 3 minus 5 times 4. 5 times 3 is 15, minus 5 times 4 is 20, and 15 take away 20 is -5. So that's distributing when you have parentheses and something is in front. Sometimes it's even in the back, and you multiply everything in the parentheses, and you don't have any more parentheses on the end. They go away, they disappear. Exponential notation, I will just say it's repeated multiplication. And I'm showing you an example. So for example, we have 3, and then the 4 is higher. Notice the 3 is lower, this number is higher. It's not next to it, it's above it. It has to be that. And the way we read this is called a power, by the way. So we say 3 to the power of 4. And the 3 is called the base, and the 4 is called the exponent. So base is below, the exponent is higher, and what that means is the exponent tells us how often to multiply the base by itself. So I'm going to rewrite that. So 3 to the power of 4 would mean you have 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, 4 times. The 4 tells you how often to multiply the base. And then you can figure that out. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 9 is 81. So when you have exponential expressions or notation like that, the answers usually get really big fast because you're multiplying the same number and over, and it goes pretty quick that it goes large. You're not adding, you're multiplying. A factor is part of a multiplication problem. I don't like that. Multiplication problem. And so, for example, if we have 5 times 6, those are factors. Times 2, part of multiplication problem. And so the answer to that is 60. 5 times 6 is 30. 30 times 2 is 60. So 5, 6, and 2 are factors of 60. Okay. Inverse operations are opposite, and they undo each other. So for adding, the opposite is subtract. For multiplying, and back vice versa, subtract, the opposite is add. The opposite is divide. So those are opposites or inverse operations. Okay, we have 4 operations. We have adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. Those are the only 4 operations we know. Adding, subtracting, I'll just make it an X, multiplying and dividing. And these are the opposites. Product is the answer to a multiplication problem. So for example, 3 times 10 is 30. So this is your product. Okay, quotient is the answer to a division problem. For example, 6 divided by 3 is 2. This is your quotient. Okay, those are the vocabulary words. We're skipping the next page, so you can put a big X through it. And we're on this page, and this page you can, I don't want to use any counters. I don't want to make groups. I'm going to show you a short way. These are not multiplication. Even so, it says multiplying. I'm not going to use a counter model. So I'm going to cross that out. And this is not multiplying. This is all adding or subtracting. And this is homework. It's kind of review. 15 plus negative 10 is what? 5 plus negative 10 is what? 0 plus negative 10. These are double negatives, 15 plus 10. I told you to rewrite those with a plus. Just like a little review, 5 plus 10. 0 plus 10. So finish those up for your own, and then let's share in class. The next page is notes. Again, I'm not using counters. So you can cross anytime you see the word counter. And we're also skipping this, so cross that out. This is where your most important information is for this lesson. So I'm going to put important, and I want you to do the same and draw big arrows to it so you always find it, because this is really what you need to know for this first lesson. So make it big. Use a different marker, use some color marker to draw your eyes to these two little slots, okay? So this is what I'm going to show you instead of counters. So I'm gonna say in here, when multiplying two numbers, combine, and I should even insert the word simply because it's really simple. Combine their signs. The sign is the positive or negative, like this. And here we go. So you have, so this is the part that's super important. I'll make it red. Let's say you're multiplying a positive number times a positive number. The answer is going to be positive. You multiply a positive times a negative number. The answer is negative. You multiply a negative number times a positive number. The answer will be negative. And you multiply a negative number times a negative number, the answer is positive. So notice if you have one negative, the answer is negative. If you have two negatives, the answer is positive. Notice this rule is not the same when you add or subtract. So you have to keep that separate. You have to know, are we multiplying or are we adding or subtracting? Two different sets of rules. So you got to keep it straight. Multiplying has this set of rules with the signs, adding and subtracting a different one. So I'm going to show you these examples. Number 4, both numbers are positive. Positive 2 times positive 4. By the way, the parentheses you can have them. You could also say 2 times 4. You could also say 2 times 4. All these mean the same. The key is both numbers are positive. So I go up here, Positive times a positive, the answer is positive 8, okay? Two times negative 4. So you have one positive number times one negative number. Positive times a negative. Positive times a negative, the answer is negative. 2 times 4 is 8, negative 8. 3 times 2, positive times a positive. Positive times a positive, answer is positive. 3 times negative 2. Positive number times negative number. Positive times negative, the answer is negative. Anytime you have one negative, your answer will be negative. Notice that? So now down here, the product of a positive number and a positive number is always a positive number. And the product of a positive and a negative is always a negative number. Okay, so that's it. Make sure you have this right here, always able to refer. Even make yourself a little sticky note on the side that you can find this easily as long as you're practicing, okay? It's super important you get this down. I want to tell you a little, I've heard this a long time ago, but I won't say, well, never mind. I'll skip it now. Okay, so this is notes. Again, I don't want to use counters. Cross it out. We're going to cross out this. So here, we're going to put again on top so you know what you're looking at. A positive times a positive is a positive. Positive times a negative is a negative answer. Negative times positive is a negative answer. Multiply two negatives, it turns positive. So we're going by this rule. This is the sign rule. Let's look. Negative times positive. Answer is negative 8. Negative times a negative. Answer is positive 8. Negative times a positive. Answer is negative 6. Negative times a negative. Answer is positive 6. So that's how you can apply this, okay? The product of a negative number and a positive number is a negative number. The product of a negative number and a negative number is a positive number. So that's kind of the whole idea of multiplying numbers. And by the way, the same rule applies when you divide them, okay? So this was page 4. Then this is your page 5, which is your homework. Okay, so you're going to use this rule. It helps if you put your little rule up on top. You'll just do that each time. So this kind of little scripty thing, and then you can match positive times a negative, answer is negative. And so forth. You're going to do these. And then down here, I want to show you this. This is watch out. So you can say careful here. Why? Because we're not multiplying. Notice here, this is a multiplication problem. This is an addition. Adding, adding. So the rule is totally different. Rules are different. Okay, so that would be -3 plus -10 is going back to your counters. You can say I owe $3 plus I owe $10 more. I owe $13. So in this case, it's not, you do not apply this rule up here because you're not multiplying. So different rule when you add. You have to switch gears and remember your lesson in the book Integers 2, the previous book. Okay, so your homework page is this, and I think that's already it. for this lesson, pretty short, and I'll see you in class.